Welcome to the eerie hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. This old house, settled deep among pines that sigh like ancient breath, feels less like shelter and more like a paused breath itself. It holds a silence that is not empty, but full of anticipation. You feel it, pressing, growing heavier as the light outside surrenders. It is midnight, specifically, that gathers this strange weight, not just the turning of the day, but a palpable presence that seems to thicken the air, to draw the shadows closer than they should be. Clocks falter or stop altogether as the hour approaches. The air grows cold, a specific, penetrating chill unrelated to the season outside. It wraps around you, a silent question. An inexplicable awareness settles. Something is waiting for midnight. You start noticing small, unsettling anomalies. The fleeting scent of damp earth, yes, but also something metallic and sharp, like old blood or rust, that vanishes before you can place it. Your initial state is one of curious confusion, a tangle of fascination and mild anxiety. Time itself feels mutable, seconds stretching or compressing as the hour approaches. A subtle, unsettling feeling arises, the sense of being watched, perhaps even guided towards something unknown and waiting. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe and share your theories below. Now, let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. The house breathes, a low, almost inaudible current of air moving through forgotten spaces. You sit in the large, dusty study, surrounded by books that smell of decay and secrets. The grandfather clock in the hall is usually a steady companion, its pendulum a comforting metronome heart for the old structure. But tonight, it stutters. Its heavy tick-tock catches, hesitates, then rushes, as if trying to keep pace with an invisible competitor. This distortion of time is the most persistent of the recent anomalies, a physical manifestation of the growing unease. It starts hours before midnight, a subtle wobble in the flow of seconds, but as the witching hour approaches, it becomes pronounced. The clock's face seems to warp, the hands jumping erratically, sometimes seeming to move backward a fraction before lurching forward. It feels less like a mechanical failure and more like a temporal bruise. A sharp, metallic scent slices through the musty air, identical to the fleeting smell you noticed earlier. It's strong this time, pungent, undeniably metallic, and overlaid with something else. Something organic and cold, like wet leaves pressed into soil. You stand, drawn towards the source, though logic screams there shouldn't be one in this dry room. The smell seems strongest near the closed door leading to the unused cellar. A shiver, distinct and unnerving, traces a path down your spine. It is the same chill that permeates the house regardless of outside temperature as midnight nears. This growing disruption, the fracturing of the predictable tick-tock, stirs a deep, unsettling anxiety. It's not just fear of the unknown, but a primal dread tied to the very fabric of reality, fraying at the edges. Your grip tightens on the arm of the dusty chair. The sense of being observed intensifies, a pressure against the back of your neck. It feels less like eyes, and more like a patient, coiled attention. The grandfather clock groans, a sound like old bones shifting, and falls silent. The stillness that follows is profound, absolute. You listen, straining your ears. The metallic scent is gone. The unnatural chill remains. In the sudden, profound silence, you hear a faint scrape from the cellar door. It sounds like something being dragged, slow and heavy. It could be the old house settling, a gust of wind, a rodent, anything. But the timing, immediately after the clock's death, feels deliberate. The silence answers, thick and waiting. Is it only the house settling, or is something in this waiting silence acknowledging the hour's arrival? The air grows heavier still. The stillness holds, broken only by the frantic, uneven beat of your own heart. The cellar door remains closed, a dark, solid barrier in the dim hall. The metallic scent, sharp and cold, returns, stronger this time, carrying a whisper of decay. It clings to the air around the door like a visible cloud. You step closer, compelled, despite the mounting dread. The wood of the door is cold under your fingers, unnaturally so, as if leaching warmth from the surrounding air. No wind could create this, no settling beam. It is a specific, localized cold, centered on this point. The feeling of being watched presses in, no longer just behind you, but seemingly emanating from the door itself. It is patient, expectant. The silence stretches, taut and brittle. You lean closer, ear pressed to the cold wood. There is a faint, rhythmic sound from within, soft but persistent. Tap, tap, tap. It is too regular for a drip, too slow for anything scuttling. It is deliberate, almost musical. Each tap resonates not just against the door, but deep within your skull, a tiny hammer striking directly onto exposed nerves. A memory flickers of a similar sound, long ago, perhaps a dream, perhaps something buried. It brings with it a wave of nauseating disorientation, a brief but total loss of spatial awareness. You grip the doorframe, the wood rough and splintered beneath your hand, grounding yourself against the sudden tilt of reality. This disorientation is a new crack in your composure, a sickening lurch in your sense of self. It isn't just fear. It is the dawning horror that your own mind might be participating in this unraveling. Is the tap real? Or is it an auditory hallucination, born from stress and the house's oppressive atmosphere? The grandfather clock across the hall stands silent, a dead sentinel. Its hands are frozen at 5 minutes before midnight, a constant. Low static begins to hum in the air, a sound without a source, like 1,000 disconnected whispers just below the threshold of hearing. The static intensifies, filling the void left by the dead clock, buzzing against your eardrums. It feels less like sound and more like interference, a disruption of reality itself. The tap, tap, tap from the cellar door continues, steady, relentless, seemingly unaffected by the buzzing static. You notice something else, a detail that makes the small hairs on your arms stand on end. The scrape you heard earlier. There is a faint, dark line near the base of the door, like a fresh mark on the aged wood, leading from the crack beneath it. It looks damp. A cold draft sweeps through the hall, carrying the metallic, earthy scent again, stronger than ever. It smells of the grave, but also of something else, something sickeningly sweet and floral, like wilting lilies left on damp soil. You stumble back from the door, heart pounding a frantic rhythm against your ribs. The air around the door shimmers faintly, a heatless distortion of the light. It's like looking through disturbed water. The tap, tap, tap ceases abruptly. The sudden silence is worse than the noise. This escalating sensory assault, the combination of smell, sound, shimmer, and temperature, pushes you closer to the edge. You feel a desperate need to flee, to put distance between yourself and this door, but your feet feel rooted to the spot. A strange, unnatural calm settles over you, cold and detached, the psychological fracture deepening into dissociation. It feels like you are watching yourself from outside, a silent observer to your own terror. The static hums, a constant white noise behind your thoughts. The hands on the frozen clock remain fixed, marking an eternal 5 minutes before the hour. Is the hour waiting for you, or is it holding its breath until you make a move? The dark line on the floor seems to pulse faintly in the dim light. The air grows heavy, thick with the combined sense of damp earth, sharp metal, and sickeningly sweet decay. The static intensifies, a deafening roar inside your head that somehow remains inaudible to your external ears. It feels like your thoughts are being shredded, pulled apart, thread by thread. The shiver that began earlier has become a full-body tremor, uncontrolled and violent. You grip the splintered doorframe, knuckles white. The dark line on the floor has spread slightly, seeping further from beneath the door, like ink on blotting paper. It is unmistakably wet now. From within the cellar, a sound begins to build, a low, wet gurgle, followed by a soft, tearing noise. It is muffled by the door, but the implication is horrifyingly clear. Something is moving. Something that is not dry and quiet, like dust or wood rot. The rhythmic tap, tap, tap returns. Faster now, frantic. It sounds less like tapping and more like scratching, nails against wood. A low moan accompanies the scratching, long and sorrowful, utterly devoid of human inflection. It is the sound of pure, mindless agony or effort. The dissociation shatters, replaced by a flood of raw, unreasoning terror. You want to scream, but your throat is tight, paralyzed. This is not just the house. This is something ancient and hungry stirring beneath it. The recurring static feels like a screen trying to come into focus. A distorted signal trying to convey something horrific. The frozen clock hands still mock the passage of time, locked in their pre-midnight stasis. But the scratching behind the door is a different kind of time, a relentless countdown to something breaking through. The scratching grows more insistent, louder, punctuated by wet thuds. The dark line beneath the door continues to widen. A new sound joins the symphony of the cellar, a soft, rhythmic click, like bones articulating. It moves with the scratching, sometimes leading it, sometimes following. The metallic scent is overwhelming now, filling your mouth with the taste of blood. Your eyes dart between the cellar door and the clock across the hall, its hands still locked in place. The static reaches a crescendo in your mind, a piercing shriek that threatens to shatter your skull. Suddenly, the scratching stops, the gurgling ceases, the clicking falls silent. The static cuts out, leaving behind a ringing silence that is far more terrifying than the noise it replaced. The house holds its breath again. You stand frozen, heart hammering against your ribs, waiting for the inevitable. The dark line beneath the door has stopped spreading. The strange shimmer around the door is gone. The unnatural chill remains, but it feels different now, expectant. A faint, cold breeze whispers through the hall, carrying the last vestiges of the metallic, earthy scent. It settles around you, a silent question. Did it happen? Did something pass through in that moment of absolute silence? Your psychological state is one of profound shock, bordering on catatonia. The terror is still there, a cold knot in your gut, but overlaid with a terrifying stillness. The recurring motif of the clock hands, perpetually stuck, feels less like a warning now, and more like a record of a moment that refuses to end. Or perhaps a moment that was never truly reached. Was the silence the climax, or merely an inhale before the next horrifying step? The air pressure in the house feels different, lighter, as if something heavy has lifted. You stand in the silent hall, the ghost of static still buzzing in your ears. The cellar door is just a door again, dark wood against darker shadows. There is no shimmer now, no sound from within, only the persistent, unnatural chill. The dark line on the floor remains, a stain that refuses to dry, a stark reminder of the wet sounds you heard. Your breath comes in shallow gasps, each one a small victory against the crushing weight of what you experienced. The grandfather clock stands silent, its hands still fixed at 5 minutes to midnight. It feels less like a broken machine and more like a monument to a moment that will never arrive, or perhaps a moment that has already passed in a way you cannot comprehend. The metallic, earthy scent has faded, replaced by the familiar smell of old dust and aged paper from the study. But the specific cold lingers in your bones, a cold that feels less like temperature and more like absence. It is the cold of something vital being leached away. You trace the line on the floor with your foot, a dark, slick mark against the worn wood. It leads from the crack beneath the door, a testament to the scratching and the wet sounds. It is just a stain now, a mark, but it feels significant, a signature left behind. The silence of the house is different now. It is not the tense, expectant silence of waiting, but a vast, empty quiet, as if something has been resolved or completed. The psychological residue of the events is a deep, abiding unease, a certainty that the world shifted on its axis, however subtly, and will not shift back. The unanswered questions hang in the air like cobwebs. What was in the cellar? What did the scratching mean? What happened in that moment of absolute silence? The recurring motif of the clock hands seems to mock you, frozen at a time that holds an unbearable significance you can almost grasp, but which slips away the moment you try. The static is gone from your mind, but you listen for it, for any sign that the interference is returning. The stain on the floor is just a stain. The door is just a door. The clock is just a broken clock, but you know, with a chilling certainty, that something waited for midnight. Something stirred, and something left a mark. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet. The air itself holds its breath, thick and sweet-sick, a scent that shouldn't exist in this familiar space. You taste copper, and something like crushed petals left too long in the sun. The moments tick by, not on any clock you can see or hear, but felt deep within your bones, a resonance that tightens with every phantom pulse. Midnight arrives not with chimes, but with a sudden, profound silence that swallows even the distant hum of the city. And in that charged stillness, it appears, not materializing from smoke or light, but simply being there, as if it had always waited just beyond the edge of perception. It stands in the narrow alley beside the house, a space you've walked 1,000 times, seen 1,000,000 ways. But this is no ordinary door. It is impossibly tall and thin, framed by what looks like tarnished bronze that weeps streaks of verdigris, like slow, ancient tears. The wood is dark, darker than any oak or mahogany you know, possibly not wood at all, but something dense and cold and utterly alien. Strange symbols are etched into its surface, lines that writhe and twist, appearing to shift in your peripheral vision. They do not look like any alphabet, but perhaps like veins, or roots, or hungry mouths. The unsettling scent from before is no longer subtle. It pours from the seams of the door in waves, thick and cloying, in almost nauseating perfume of decay and something intensely, dangerously alive. And from behind the door, a sound begins, low at first, then growing, a heavy, irregular thump. Not a knock, not a heartbeat, but something ponderous dragging itself across a rough floor, punctuated by a wet scrape. Thump, scrape, thump, scrape. Fear is a cold hand closing around your throat, but beneath it, a new feeling takes root. A compulsion, fierce and undeniable, pulling you forward like a tide. Your mind races, searching for logic, for escape, but the fear melts into something else, a desperate curiosity, an obsession that eclipses all reason. You feel drawn, not just towards the door, but into it, as if it is the only destination that ever truly mattered. This boundary, standing impossibly in a space that was empty moments before, becomes the focal point of your entire existence. Every nerve screams warning, every instinct recoils, yet your feet move. You reach for the handle, finding none, only a smooth, cool surface where one should be. The symbols seem to deepen under your touch. With a quiet push, surprisingly light for such a formidable facade, the door swings inward, not on hinges you can see, but turning as if on air. A rush of the overpowering scent hits you, combined with a stale, close air that tastes of dust and time. The sounds from within pause for a beat, and then resume, closer now. Stepping through feels less like entering a new place and more like shedding an old skin. The world behind you ceases to exist the moment your foot crosses the threshold. There is a certainty, cold and absolute, that this step is irreversible. Some choices, once made, echo forever in the dark. Welcome to the eerie hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your theories below. Now, let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. Section 1. The old house breathes around you, a slow, dusty inhalation that stirs the air, carrying scents of damp plaster and something else, something faintly sweet and cloying, like decaying flowers. You stand in the hall, the late afternoon light filtering weakly through a grimy window pane, illuminating swirling motes of dust that dance in a silent, chaotic ballet. It feels colder here than it should, a chill that doesn't come from drafts, but seems to seep from the very walls. A floorboard groans upstairs, long and drawn out, like an ancient sigh. It's just the house settling, you tell yourself, the familiar sounds of age. But a flicker of unease starts, a tiny pinprick of doubt in the back of your mind. You clutch the small, smooth stone in your pocket, a nervous habit. It feels cool and grounding. You walk toward the staircase, each step on the worn runner muffled, yet somehow loud in the heavy silence. The air grows heavier, pressing down. A low, almost imperceptible hum starts, a vibration, felt more than heard, seeming to originate from everywhere at once. It makes the hairs on your arms prickle. Your heart gives a strange, lurching beat, an early tremor of fear. You stop at the foot of the stairs, looking up into the shadows where the banister disappears. Was that a shadow moving up there? Or just the dust motes playing tricks in the dim light? Your mind feels fuzzy at the edges, like static interfering with a signal. You shake your head, trying to clear it, but the hum persists, a low, insistent pulse against the quiet decay. It feels like something is waiting just beyond the veil of what you can see, just past the edge of what you understand. Section 2. The hum intensifies as you ascend, a low thrumming that seems to resonate within your bones. It's joined now by a faint, irregular dripping sound, though you can see no source of moisture on the dry, peeling wallpaper or the cracked ceiling above. Drip, drip. The sound is maddeningly inconsistent, pausing for long moments, then starting again, always just out of sync with your heartbeat. Up on the landing, the air is colder still, biting at exposed skin. The light here is dimmer, the window at the end of the hall seemingly absorbing light instead of reflecting it. You reach the end of the hall, standing before a door you don't remember noticing before. It's plain, unmarked, but feels heavier than any other door in the house. A strange metallic scent hangs in the air here, sharp and faintly coppery. Your hand trembles as you reach for the doorknob. It's cold, unyielding. The small stone in your pocket feels suddenly hot against your palm, buzzing slightly with the same internal vibration as the house. You hesitate, a wave of profound dread washing over you. Every instinct screams at you to turn back, to flee this place. But a strange, morbid curiosity, a need to understand the source of the hum, the dripping, the chill, holds you fast. You feel a growing detachment from your own body, as if you are watching yourself from a distance. The static in your mind is louder now, a high-pitched whine beneath your thoughts. Drip, pause, drip. It sounds like blood falling onto stone, though that's impossible, isn't it? Section 3. You push the door open, and the world buckles. It's not a room. It's nowhere you've ever been, nowhere that follows the rules of space you know. The walls twist at impossible angles. The floor slopes in contradictory directions, and the ceiling stretches into a sickly, greenish-gray haze that offers no sense of height or boundary. A perpetual twilight hangs heavy in the air, yet somehow casts harsh, unnatural shadows that writhe in the corners of your vision. Sensory details crash over you, overwhelming and paradoxical. The air is thick and suffocating, yet you feel an intense, freezing cold that bites at your skin. The surfaces here are a nightmare tapestry, slick and wet under your fingers in one spot, immediately becoming coarse and abrasive in another. The sound is no longer just a hum and a drip. The irregular thump, scrape, thump is amplified, deafening, seeming to emanate from all directions at once. A giant, clumsy heart beating within the void. Fleeting, unsettling shapes dart in your periphery, formless blurs that vanish when you try to focus on them. Time here is a broken concept. Seconds stretch into eternities, moments repeat. Your mind, already frayed, begins to unravel completely. Disorientation gives way to pure, unadulterated terror. Paranoia blooms like a toxic flower. You are not alone. You are utterly lost, vulnerable, adrift in this place of decay, this psychic detritus of something vast and forgotten. You see scratches on a surface that shouldn't exist, faded marks that look like desperate attempts to score words, evidence that others have been here before. The stone in your pocket is vibrating violently now, hot enough to burn. Its smooth surface rippling like disturbed water. This place feels like the inside of static, but distorted frequency made real. Section 4. The chaotic space shifts around you without warning. Walls lunging closer, the floor tilting precariously. The sickly light pulses, casting shadows that coalesce into vaguely humanoid forms before dissolving back into the twilight haze. The contradictory sensations persist. The simultaneous freeze and suffocation of the air. The impossible textures under your hands. The thump, scrape, continues its relentless rhythm, a terrible clock, marking time in this broken dimension. You stumble, catching yourself against a surface that feels like damp, decaying velvet, slick with something you don't dare identify by touch or smell. The metallic scent is here too, stronger now, mingled with the odor of rot and something chemical. Your paranoia is a living thing, crawling on your skin. You spin around, certain you heard a wet slithering sound just behind you. But there is nothing. Only the endless, shifting geometry and the terrible sounds. Doubt gnaws at you. Are you truly seeing this? Or has your mind finally shattered under the strain? You lift the stone from your pocket. It glows faintly with the greenish-gray light of the space, its smooth surface now covered in tiny, vibrating ridges, no longer solid. It feels connected to this place, corrupted by it. The static that has plagued your thoughts is overwhelming here, a roaring in your ears that drowns out everything but the thump, scrape. You see more marks, fragments of symbols or letters etched into the bizarre surfaces, hinting at rituals or warnings. This place is not empty. It is filled with the residue of others, trapped within the static. Section 5. The non-Euclidean nightmare constricts around you, the shifting walls closing in, the sickly light dimming to near darkness, save for the pulsating glow of the surfaces themselves. The air is thick with a chilling mist that clings to you like a shroud, magnifying the feeling of suffocation. The thump, scrape, has accelerated, frantic and desperate, a drumbeat of terror. Now you see them clearly, not just in the periphery, but directly in front of you. Vague, elongated shapes coalescing within the fog, silent observers in this realm of decay. They glide closer, not walking, but seeming to flow through the impossible angles of the space. They have no distinct features, only a suggestion of form, dark voids against the dim light. Your psychological state is fractured beyond repair. Terror has given way to a cold, primal fear, a profound sense of being utterly hunted, utterly consumed by this impossible place. You try to move, to run, but your limbs feel heavy, unresponsive. The vibrating stone in your hand is burning now, scorching your palm. You look down, and its surface is not just ridged, but shows tiny, fragmented reflections of the impossible space around you, distorted and terrifying. It feels like a key or a trap, binding you to this dimension. The static screams in your head, deafening, blinding. The shapes are closer. You can feel their presence, an immense, ancient emptiness that fills the air. You are just another fragment to be absorbed, another trace left behind in the detritus. Is this where the stories truly end? Section 6. The screaming static recedes, leaving behind a profound, unsettling silence. The impossible space is gone, or perhaps it has merely pulled back, no longer pressing against your senses with such force. You are standing again in the old house hall, the weak afternoon light filtering through the grimy window pane. The air is still cold, still carries the faint scent of decay and dust, but the suffocating thickness is gone. The floorboards are solid beneath your feet. There are no impossible angles, no pulsating walls. Yet, the world feels fundamentally wrong. Your body trembles, a fine, uncontrollable tremor that speaks of the terror you endured. Your mind is quiet now, unnervingly so, but it is not healed. It is scarred, vast emptinesses existing where certain thoughts or memories should be. The sense of paranoia lingers, a low thrum just beneath your consciousness, suggesting you are never truly alone again. You reach into your pocket for the smooth stone, needing its grounding weight. It is there, cool and solid once more, its surface smooth and ordinary. But when you look closely, you see the faintest, almost imperceptible swirl just beneath the surface, like trapped static, a reminder of where you have been. The dripping sound is gone, the thump, scrape, silenced. Yet in the deepest quiet of the house, you think you can still hear a faint hum, a distant vibration. The door you step through is just a plain door at the end of the hall, unremarkable. It offers no answers, only its silent, unassuming presence. You escaped, it seems. Or did you merely return, bringing a piece of that place with you? And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet. You are back. The sudden transition is violent, like being ripped from deep water to gasp on dry land. The oppressive pressure vanishes, replaced by the familiar, yet now alien weight of your own air. Your living room surrounds you, mundane and brightly lit, but the unsettling scent clings to you. It's no longer just on your skin or clothes. It seems infused into the very fabric of the room, damp and metallic. A smell of rot and something else you can't name, something that makes your teeth ache. And the sound, the irregular thump, the dragging scrape, it hasn't stopped. It vibrates in your chest, echoes in your skull. A phantom percussion that shouldn't exist here. You stand still, listening, heart hammering against your ribs. Is it inside your head? A manifestation of trauma? Or is it outside, muffled by walls, circling the house? You press an ear to the door, to the window, but the sound shifts, always just beyond the reach of certain identification. A constant, low thrum of dread underlying the ordinary sounds of the world. Things are wrong. The space is bleeding through. A stack of mail on the table, left there moments ago, is curled at the edges and mottled with a black, fuzzy growth that defies understanding. A favorite ceramic mug on the counter has a hairline crack spreading rapidly across its surface, webbing out like frozen lightning. The colors of your living room seem muted, subtly off-key, as if viewed through murky water. It's a decay that isn't natural, a warping of the familiar, that speaks of a deeper, insidious intrusion. Your memories of being in that place, so sharp just moments ago, are beginning to blur, softening at the edges like old photographs left in the sun. Doubt creeps in, cold and insidious. Were you truly gone? Did you pass through a threshold into another existence? Or did you simply stand here, lost in a vivid, terrifying dream? The evidence of your return is flimsy against the tangible wrongness now infesting your home. You clutch your head, trying to anchor yourself to a timeline, a reality. But the ground is shifting beneath your feet. Paranoia blossoms, sharp and suffocating. Every shadow seems to conceal something. Every creak of the house is the approach of the unknown. You find yourself checking your reflection often, searching for signs of the intrusion, for a face that isn't your own. You stand before the long mirror in the hallway, your own eyes wide with terror reflected back. But there in the glass, just beyond your shoulder, you see a fleeting distortion, a ripple like heat haze in summer, or perhaps a shape pressed close to the glass on the other side. The reflection seems to lag just slightly behind your movements, a chilling echo. The mirror feels less like a surface now and more like another fragile barrier. You step back, trembling, the thump scrape seeming to emanate from the glass itself, a constant, low demand. The space didn't just let you go, it followed. It is weaving itself into the fabric of your world, and perhaps into the fabric of your mind. Is this decay external or internal? Is the world broken or is it only you? The reflection in the mirror holds no answers, only a deepening wrongness, a terrifying suggestion that the barrier wasn't meant to keep you out, but something else from coming in. The air thickens, not just with the sour scent of damp earth and rust, but with a palpable wrongness. The walls around you are no longer static barriers of plaster and paint. They breathe, a slow, viscous expansion and contraction, like the ribs of some immense, hidden creature drawing breath. Shadows, once mere absences of light, detach themselves from corners, elongating and coalescing into vague, shifting forms that seem to watch from the periphery of your vision. Familiar furniture angles itself unnaturally, chairs leaning as if in conversation, tables listing like sinking ships. This isn't a dream, it's a waking dissolution. The irregular thump or scrape that has pursued you is no longer just a sound in the distance. It is here, now, everywhere. It presses against your eardrums, vibrates through the floorboards, resonates within your bones. It is a physical presence, loud and insistent, yet impossibly close, as if it originates not outside you, but within. Your senses are overwhelmed, distorted, feeding you conflicting reports until the world warps into an alien landscape of noise and shifting forms. And the presence, it isn't just felt anymore. It feels active. You sense its focus, sharp and unwavering, like a cold, unseen eye tracing your every move. It manipulates the environment, pulling at the edges of reality like a sculptor shaping clay, using the distortions to prod, to torment, perhaps even to guide you towards some horrific destination. This is the confrontation you sensed approaching. Not a clash of wills or bodies, but a psychological siege, a direct assault on the very foundation of your perception. You look at your hands, kerning them over. Are they yours? The skin feels alien. The lines in your palm seem wrong, unfamiliar maps leading to forgotten places. Your reflection in the nearest surface, the polished surface of an old dresser, the dark glass of a turned-off screen, is a stranger. It mimics your movements, yes, but the eyes are too wide, too empty, or perhaps too full of something that isn't you. The symbolic mirror, a recurring motif throughout this descent, no longer shows who you are, but who you are becoming. It whispers questions you can't answer. Who are you without the reflection? What remains when the image is gone? You feel yourself fracturing, pieces of memory and identity flaking away like dried paint. Sanity is a distant shore you watch recede into a mist of confusion and dread. The world isn't just broken, it is different. Fundamentally, irrevocably. You are adrift in this other space, embraced by its terrifying reflection of your own unraveling mind. There is no return now. The distortions are not just happening to the world, they are happening to you. The scraping sound reaches a crescendo, and in the warped glass, the stranger smiles, wide and knowing. A smile that doesn't reach its eyes. It is ready for you. Welcome to the eerie hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. Tonight we delve into the quiet corners of a place that remembers more than it should. A house sits on the edge of understanding, holding its breath, listening. It waits for you. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your theories below. Now, let's begin, but remember, once the story starts, something always follows. The house stands, a silhouette against a bruised sky, breathing silence. You step across the threshold, and the air inside doesn't just feel still, it feels held, like a secret pressed between stone and wood. Dust motes dance in the weak light filtering through grimy windows, spinning in slow, deliberate patterns that feel both random and strangely ordered. There's a smell here too, not just decay, but something metallic and damp, like old pennies buried in wet soil. It clings to the back of your throat. You move deeper, each footfall muffled by ancient rugs or swallowed by bare floorboards. The silence presses in, heavy, expectant. Then you hear it. A faint, irregular thump. It echoes from somewhere deep within the house. Not quite a knock, not quite a heartbeat, but something resonant, insistent. You pause, straining to locate the source. It comes again, slightly louder this time. Thump. It's a sound that shouldn't be in such a still place. A sound that suggests something is active, alive, where only dust and memory should reside. This is the first crack in the house's silent facade, the first hint that its stillness is a pretense. A peculiar door catches your eye. It's set into a wall where no door should logically be. Small, dark wood, utterly plain, save for a single tarnished brass knob. It wasn't there before, was it? You rack your memory, but the house feels alien now, its layout suddenly mutable, unreliable. A wave of unease washes over you, cold and sharp, a moment of psychological fracture where certainty about the familiar gives way to doubt about reality itself. The door sits there, an incongruous, solid thing in the shifting air, its silent presence speaking louder than any noise. The thump comes again, this time seeming to originate from the small, dark door. Is it behind it? Or is the door itself the source of the sound? You can't be sure. The air around the door feels colder, the metallic, damp scent stronger. The door is the motif, a focal point in the house's strange geometry, drawing your attention, whispering of something just out of sight. Is this place simply settling, groaning with age, or is something trying to get your attention? The thump stops. The silence floods back in, thicker now, weighted with the memory of the sound. You stand before the small door, hand hovering near the tarnished knob, the metallic smell prickling your nose. A thought drifts unbidden into your mind. Perhaps some doors are better left undisturbed, but the irregular thump lingers in your internal hearing, an echo promising return. The silence after the thump is not a true absence of sound, but a negative space defined by what was just there. It vibrates with potential. You stand before the small, dark door, a plain wood, seeming to absorb all light, all warmth. Your fingers trace the cool, smooth brass of the knob. It feels heavy, solid, unlike anything else in this house that seems ready to crumble into dust at a touch. The metallic, damp smell is strongest right here, almost overpowering, making your head feel light. You press your ear against the wood, listening. At first, only the faint rush of your own blood, the distant creak of the house settling. Then, beneath that, something else. A faint, almost imperceptible scrape. It's soft, irregular, like something being dragged lightly across a rough surface. It starts, stops, starts again. Scrape, scrape. It is a sound that suggests movement, effort, patience. It feels more deliberate than the thump. This new sound, this persistent scrape, begins to wear on you. It's not loud enough to demand attention, but its quiet persistence is insidious. You find yourself focusing on it, filtering out all other input until the house and the world outside fade, leaving only you and the soft, grating noise behind the door. Doubt blooms in your mind. Is the sound real? Or is it a phantom born of the oppressive silence and your own frayed nerves? This psychological fracture deepens, splitting perception from reality. The door is no longer just an anomaly. It is a focus, a source of growing unease. It remains closed, impassive, but the scrape is a constant, subtle reminder of what lies beyond. Or perhaps, what is trying to enter. The door, once merely an object of curiosity, is now a barrier, possibly a boundary under siege. The scrape is the language of its occupant, or perhaps its prisoner. Scrape, scrape. You pull back from the door, rubbing your temples. The air here is noticeably colder than the rest of the room, carrying that strange, metallic scent. The scrape continues, a quiet, persistent thread of sound. You wonder, with a chill that has nothing to do with the temperature, if the sound will stop if you just listen long enough. Maybe it only scrapes when it thinks you are paying attention. The irregular scrape has become a low hum in the background of your thoughts, a counterpoint to the house's pervasive silence. You find yourself drawn back to the small, dark door, compelled by a morbid curiosity that has begun to edge into obsession. Sleep is elusive, filled with dreams of grating sounds and impenetrable wood. You trace the lines of the door paneling, noting small imperfections that seem almost deliberate, like patterns. The atmospheric detail today is a tangible chill that emanates from the door itself, a cold that sinks into your bones and refuses to leave. It's not the chill of a draft, but something deeper, more fundamental, like the absence of warmth. Along with the cold comes a visual distortion in the air, immediately surrounding the door, a faint shimmer like heat haze, but cold. The metallic, damp smell is stronger than ever, thick and cloying. Standing before the door, the scrape seems to accelerate slightly, then pause. Then it resumes, faster, more frantic. Or perhaps it is your own perception shifting, rushing the sound. A moment of profound psychological fracture occurs as you consider the possibility that the scrape is not coming from behind the door, but from within you, an external sound internalized, amplified by fear and lack of sleep. Are you hearing the door, or are you hearing yourself? The distinction blurs. The door is no longer just a physical object or a source of sound. It has become a symbol of a boundary, a threshold between this reality and something else. Its plain facade seems to hide infinite depth, an unknowable space hinted at by the relentless, soft scrape. It beckons and repels simultaneously. You reach out, fingers trembling, towards the tarnished brass knob. The scrape stops abruptly. Absolute silence returns, heavier than before, pressing down like a physical weight. You hold your breath, listening, but there is nothing. Only the cold air and the persistent metallic smell. What happens when the scraping stops? You stand there, hand outstretched, poised between curiosity and dread. Is this silence an end, or merely a different kind of waiting? The abrupt cessation of the scrape is more unnerving than its persistence. The silence that follows is absolute, devoid of even the house's usual groans and creaks. It feels deliberate, as if the house itself is holding its breath, listening to you. You stand before the small, dark door, hand still hovering near the brass knob. The cold air emanating from it is intense now, making your skin prickle. The strange, metallic scent fills your lungs. Then the door moves. Not opening, not closing, but a subtle shift inwards, just a fraction of an inch. Enough to break the seal, to reveal an edge of utter blackness behind it. No light escapes. No sound issues forth. Just that intense, dimensionless void revealed by the slightest gap. This is the uncanny event. The moment the passive object becomes active, the boundary shows its weakness. You stare at the sliver of darkness, mesmerized and terrified. A wave of sheer, unreasoning panic washes over you, a psychological fracture that threatens to shatter your composure. Every instinct screams to run, to flee this place, this door, this impossible sliver of black. But another part of you, the part corrupted by obsession and fractured perception, is fixated, unable to look away. You feel a strange detachment, as if observing your own terror from a distance. The door, now slightly ajar, transforms from a symbol of a potential boundary to the embodiment of a breached one. The small gap is an invitation, a wound in reality. It is no longer just a door. It is a mouth, silent and dark, waiting. The knowledge that something is there, that it is just on the other side, is almost unbearable. You find yourself leaning closer, drawn by an invisible force. You inhale the cold, metallic air that spills from the gap. It smells like something ancient, something that has never seen light. What could possibly exist in such utter blackness, in such profound silence? A faint, almost inaudible sound, like a soft sigh, seems to drift from the crack. Or is it your own breath, ragged with fear? The sliver of blackness behind the slightly ajar door is absolute. It consumes light, defies depth. You stand frozen, staring into it, the cold air washing over you, thick with the metallic, damp scent. The sigh, if that's what it was, has vanished, leaving only the oppressive silence and the visual distortion around the door, the air shimmering with cold. Then, a whisper. It's not auditory, not in your ears, but seems to bloom directly in your mind, a thought that isn't yours. Enter. It's soft, resonant, carrying an ancient weariness and an infinite patience. This telepathic intrusion is the supernatural event, a direct communication from whatever dwells beyond the threshold. It bypasses your senses, speaking directly to your fractured consciousness. Your mind reels. Psychological fracture is complete. Sanity fragments under the impossible reality of a voice in your head, emanating from a gap in a door that shouldn't exist. You feel dizzy, disoriented, questioning everything you've ever known about the world, about yourself. Are you going mad? Or is this the true state of things simply revealed? You press your hands to your temples as if to hold your skull together. The door is no longer a barrier or a boundary. It is a passage briefly revealed. Its slight opening is a deliberate act, an offered path. The motif of the door culminates here, not as an object to be opened, but as a state of being, the state of possibility, of crossing over. The blackness behind it is the unknown, the infinite space implied by its impossible presence. It is not just a door, it is the door, the one that should never be found, much less opened. The cold air seems to push against you, a subtle pressure urging you forward. The thought echoes again, softer this time, woven with resignation. It is waiting. You look at the sliver of void, at the shimmering air, breathe in the metallic scent. There is no longer a question of if you will cross, but when and how. What does it mean for a door to wait? The door is gone. It simply isn't there anymore. The wall is solid, unremarkable, papered over with faded floral patterns that look like they've been there for centuries. No trace of the small, dark wood, no hint of the tarnished brass knob, no gap revealing absolute blackness. The house is silent once more, but this silence feels different. It's a silence that remembers, a silence that has seen the boundary crossed and settled back into itself, leaving you behind. You are still here, physically present in the house, but irrevocably changed. The intense cold, the metallic, damp scent, the shimmering air, they may have receded, but the psychological damage remains, a permanent landscape of shattered perception. You look at the floral wallpaper, and sometimes the patterns shift, forming fleeting, impossible geometries that suggest the space behind the wall is not gone, merely invisible, layered over this reality. You see traces of the other space everywhere now, distortions in the periphery, shadows that don't conform to the light. The irregular thump and the soft scrape are no longer external sounds. They have become a permanent internal rhythm, a phantom vibration in your bones, a grating sensation behind your eyes. They are the lasting symbols, the symbolic thread woven into your very being, a constant reminder of the boundary crossed, the conversation you had without speaking. The door is gone, but the horror it introduced persists, internalized, inescapable. There is no longer the urgency of fear, only a quiet despair, an unsettling acceptance. You walk through the house, and it feels less like a building and more like a state of mind, a reflection of your own fractured state. What truly happened? What did the entity, the presence behind the door, want? The ambiguity lingers, a cloud over any attempt to understand. It didn't take you physically, perhaps, but it pulled something across or left something behind. You are trapped now, not in the house, but within the internal, inescapable horror that the door at midnight unlocked. The house remembers, the silence remembers, and you remember every flicker of distortion, every phantom thump, every internal scrape. You listen to the silence, to the echoes within yourself, And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet.